Top 10 Amazing Facts About King Charles III, the new King of the United Kingdom you should know. Today, our focus would be on the new King of England, Charles III, as he took over the throne after his late mother Queen Elizabeth II. Just like it was with Queen Elizabeth II, he will the head of state for the UK and 14 other countries, so he has a huge burden on his shoulders. We will be taking a look at 10 facts about him that you might not know. Let's get started. King Charles III is the oldest person to become monarch. Yes, the new King of Britain has been preparing his entire life to inherit the throne following the death of his mother, Queen Elizabeth II. He became king at an astonishing 73 years of age, making him the oldest monarch in the history of the United Kingdom. It is to be noted that he became heir apparent to the throne of just 3 years of age and will become king only 70 years later. This will also mean he also holds the record as the longest heir apparent in history. Considering his age, it is going to take quite a while for his record to be broken because his son Prince William will most likely assume the throne in the next few decades. Therefore, it would be impossible for his record to be broken by his own son. Wasn't certain that he would keep his name. Just like it is with popes, most monarchs usually choose a name for their title different from their birth name. For example, Charles's grandfather George IV went by the name Bertie for most of his life, but was titled King George IV. As for Charles, even though he's been the most famous Charles in the United Kingdom for 7 decades, the previous 2 kings, titled Charles, didn't have a good reputation. Charles I was executed for treason and the monarchy was briefly abolished. Duties. Elections. His son Charles, II, spent time in exile until 11 years later when the monarchy was restored. Although he was loved by the masses, he was a philanderer claiming at least a dozen illegitimate children. Then Charles Stuart, best known as Bonnie Prince Charles, staged a rebellion in Scotland that almost put him on the throne. Was called Charles III. Despite this, however, Prince Charles, now King Charles III, chose to keep his name immediately after becoming king. He didn't even think before making the decision. He wasn't willing to marry Princess Diana. Many often wonder how the fairy tale romance between the then Prince Charles and Princess Diana went sour. Even though he was unfaithful, he can't fully be blamed because he didn't really want to marry her. The blame should be on the status quo. The two had only met a dozen times before they got married, and even after they were engaged, Prince Charles started regretting the proposal. He told his friends at the time that he wanted to get out of the wedding because he hadn't really gotten to know his fiancée. At that time, the power and influence of the media were unstoppable. Despite not willing to marry her as she wasn't his true love, the media took matters into their own hands, putting pressure on Charles and Diana to pull through with the engagement and eventually marriage. Unfortunately, however, the marriage was plagued with issues and eventually a divorce. His true love was Camilla. Although he got married to Diana, he had already fallen in love with Camilla. When Charles was 23, one of his good friends from the university introduced him to Camilla Shand, hoping the two would hit it off. According to his very own self, at 70 Charles and Camilla would become friends, and as time flowed by, he would eventually fall deeply in love with the latter. Unfortunately for him, however, his love interest was still in love with her own former flame, Andrew Parker Bowles. When Parker Bowles' army duties sent him to Germany, Charles seemed to have a chance with the girl of his dreams. That is until Charles himself left for an 8-month Navy duty in 1973. By the time he came back he'd missed his chance. Camilla was engaged to Parker Bowles. He will however get another chance again following the passing away of Diana in 1997. They will make their relationship public and eventually get married in 2005 on September the 8th, 2022 following the death of his mother after assuming the throne. Camilla is now known as the Queen Consort. The famous king was bullied in school. Even as a prince and child of the famous Queen Elizabeth, he was in no way immune to the taunting of the school children. Prince Charles went to boarding school at Gordonstoun in Scotland, and his experience wasn't one to write home. His classmates would often pick on him, which would drive him to isolation. When a classmate would talk to him, bullies would start making slurping sounds to imply his peers were sucking up, despite holding it in at school and not really standing up for himself. He still made sure to inform his family about everything. In one of his letters to his family in 1963, he wrote, "The people in my dormitory are foul. Goodness, they are horrid. I don't know how anybody could be so foul." He was almost assassinated. Charles survived an assassination attempt in 1994 when he paid a visit to Sydney, Australia on a royal tour. Whilst he was handing out awards at a ceremony on Australia Day, a Cambodian university student named David Kang jumped up from a crowd about 6 meters from the prince and ran towards him. He would fire his first shot whilst making his run toward Charles, who had just risen to approach the lectern on the stage. However, his attempt was obstructed by a security team including Prince Charles's personal bodyguard, who rushed to his safety, pushed the prince away and wrestled Kang to the ground. Other security members would follow suit to make sure the threat was completely neutralized. The Australian Prime Minister at the time expressed his embarrassment at the incident, but would insinuate that it wasn't an assassination attempt. His Secret Service name was Unicorn. Certain visiting dignitaries to the US are given code names of their own, and Charles was given the name Unicorn. The name was quite fitting for him, since the unicorn is the national animal of Scotland and has been part of its coat of arms for approximately 600 years. But the first recorded example of the Scottish monarch using a unicorn as a symbol of strength was from the late 1300s, when either Robert II or III used unicorns as part of the arms and gateway of Rose Castle on the Isle of Bute, Scotland, among King Charles III's earliest titles, which he received at age 5, is Duke of Rose. Throughout his life before becoming king, he's had the titles Prince of Wales, Duke of Cornwall and Earl of Carrick. He is the most opinionated royal family member. Charles has always been open-minded, not thinking too much before voicing out his opinion. Many even believed that his opinions could get him into trouble. Although the royal family involves itself in public causes, they always make sure to keep their opinions private when it comes to political matters. Charles, however, has proven to be a different breed. He has a history of veering into the realm of politics, condemning a number of government-backed London building projects in the 1980s. He also passionately discusses about climate change, which some fear doesn't bode well for the next in line for the crown. But in a recent BBC documentary, he brushed aside fears that he wouldn't be able to separate his political ideals as prince from his need for neutrality. As king, he said, "I'm not that stupid." He wrote a children's book. Yes. He is a well-versed writer, having written several books, including a children's book titled The Old Man of Lochnagar, which he wrote in 1980. The book is based on stories that he used to tell his younger brothers, Princes Andrew and Edward. In those days, it centers around an old man who went to the caves near Balmoral looking for a quiet place to take a hot bath. The book was later turned into an animated short film narrated by the king. He is the patron of over 400 organizations. Throughout his stay as heir apparent to the throne, he wasn't in any way living an idle life. He has been known to champion social and charitable causes. As heir to the throne, he is patron or president of more than 400 organizations, including charity, golf, opera and military groups. He's also shown concern for nature and its preservation, backing large financial prizes for technology and scientific innovations that can curb carbon emissions and the impacts of climate change. He also runs an organic farm and his produce is available for sale in British stores, not forgetting his charity works, where he's always shown his support for youth charities. His Prince's Trust charity offers skills training to thousands of young British people and was set up amid an unemployment crisis. And that's it for our 10 facts about King Charles. 3 that you should know. Hope you enjoyed the video and do not forget to subscribe and turn on notifications in order not to miss out on more awesome videos. Thanks for watching.